Hello, good morning. It is a beautiful Sunday here. It is the end of August, almost September, and I'm going to be recording a harvesting video. I have quite a few things ready to pick, I think, in combination between all of our gardens. And I'm going to be doing some canning today. I have a bunch of tomatoes and cucumbers and things that didn't sell this week at the farm, at our farm stand. So what I'm going to do is just combine everything that I picked today with all of the stuff that didn't get sold, and I'm going to do some tomato sauce canning and continue making pickles. I've been doing that almost every week with our abundance of cucumbers that have been growing. But for today, I wanted to take you along while I do harvesting and picking and seeing what is ready to pick in the garden right now. A quick check on our watermelons. I have been checking these daily and also pruning the plants very often just to keep them smaller and to keep them from reaching the electric fence. The watermelons are huge. I do not think they're 100% ready yet. I'm really trying to be patient and wait. Hopefully I'm not waiting too long, but the tendrils are not completely dried up yet. They have like the creamy spot at the bottom, but they're not yellowing at the bottom yet. And I am not sure what watermelons these are. They're supposed to be yellow petite watermelons, but to me, I don't know, they look kind of big. They look like a standard store size watermelon. So I don't know if that's how big they're supposed to be or if there was a seed mix-up. But the plants are doing amazing, and I'm just trying to wait out. I've been studying a lot on watermelons and seeing how to tell once they are ripe. So I'm trying to just wait until it hits at least 2 out of the 3 from the checklist of things that I have read. So I really want to wait and be patient and pick it once it's perfect. So I'm going to just hold off and not pick watermelon, but these are acorn squash, which are doing great. I'm going to see if there is any ready to pick. We picked a couple of these last week. I'm going to give it a little bit longer. You want like a really golden orange almost color at the bottom of them. Like that one's a little bit more. So I think I'm going to pick this one. Once it has like that golden orange color, I don't know if you can see it good on the camera, but in person that's a lot more gold. So I'm going to pick that one. So that is a ripe acorn squash. Alright, so I found 3 acorn squash that are perfectly ripened. So I'm going to leave those there for now and bring them in later. We also have a spaghetti squash. I would have to look up to see how to tell when these are ready, but they're looking really big and beautiful. Spaghetti squash that grew out of our compost bin and we transplanted it in here. Some more watermelon. This was acorn squash, but it's also like very unique looking acorn squashes. It has the dark green ones, then some lighter green ones, and even some like very lime green color. So those are new and different. I don't know how those came to be those colors or if they'll eventually darken. But this is another plant that was new to me. It looks like it's a white pumpkin. Let me try to find one. So they look like a very light tan pumpkin. I'm thinking that they're white pumpkins. I thought that they were acorn squash, but then as it kept growing and growing, and then I started seeing the actual fruit, that is what they look like. So those are interesting. I like white pumpkins for fall decorations, but I don't think those are ready to pick. So I'm going to leave them be, especially because I'm not quite sure what they are. They're definitely not acorn squash. They're matching more of like the small pumpkin shape, not a really big variety. But I'm going to leave them be and then walk around the rest of the vegetable garden. Some more watermelon there. They're very tempting, but I definitely want to make sure that they are ripe because I would be very disappointed to grow these watermelons for so long, then pick them prematurely. So this is what our cantaloupe plants are looking like. They are flowering, they're spreading out a bit. I have not seen any fruit on them yet. Alright, on to the vegetables. We definitely have a lot of weeds going on here, but what I'm going to do is just finish out the season and we're going to retill all of this So I'm not really too stressed about the weeds at this point. We have harvested so much. We've been able to preserve so much, and the vegetables just keep on producing, which is nice. And we're not worried too much about the weeds at this point, because very soon it'll be time to just retill this whole plot and then start fresh next spring. So just grabbing a couple of radishes so I can clean up and store in the fridge for this week. If we have salads, we have some lettuce that we got to use up, and we have lots of tomatoes and cucumbers. I can make some little side salads with dinner. Alright, that should be enough of those. We have plenty ready to pick though. Next to that is our cucumbers that originally I started growing in hanging baskets, but they weren't doing so well in the hanging baskets, and once I transplanted them into the garden, they're doing so much better. And I've been picking from them. A lot of them are these little deformed cucumbers, but we've been getting some regular size pickling cucumbers. That one's too small, so I'm going to leave that one be. These are watermelon radishes. Let's grab a couple of these just so we can cut into them and see how pretty they look. This one looked like it busted open. Alright, that's good for that. Next to the watermelon radishes, we have our round zucchini. So I don't know if that is ready to pick yet. From the picture on the seed packet, they were darker green, more like that color. So I'm gonna wait, but they're so adorable. They look like little tiny pumpkins, but they're just regular zucchini. They taste just like zucchinis, but these are those in the front. And then towards the back, we planted the, I believe they're called gray zucchini. They look like this. So these plants are just now starting to produce. That's not ready to pick yet, but those have been really good producers even when we lived in Florida. Look how beautiful the plants are looking. So next to that, there's more zucchini that just, you can see they're just now flowering. They're still young plants. That's our peaches and cream corn. I haven't seen the pollen yet, so I'm going to be hand pollinating these, because since we planted them in such a single row, they're probably not going to pollinate very well, and I want to give them the best chance to actually produce corn. So I'm going to be like hand pollinating them somehow. Green beans, they're not producing yet. They're starting to flower. I planted the green beans in between all of the corns. So especially down there, there's green beans in between each corn stalk. So next to our corn and green beans, actually I just saw the first little green beans on here. Very small, but that's nice to see that they are growing some little green beans. But next to that we have these, I believe they're Ashley cucumbers. These are the big long cucumbers, or they might be pickling, who knows. They're just now flowering, so those haven't started yet. So there's nothing ready to pick on these. Next to that we have our sweet peas. Remember our experimental sweet peas that we planted from the grocery store bean aisle. It was a bag of dried peas, and we planted them, and we have been harvesting all sorts of peas. I've been shelling them and freezing them. So they've done really nice. It's time for another harvest, so I'm going to pick whatever looks plump and ready, and then we will save them. Alright, just finished with these sweet peas. That is how much I ended up harvesting. It's a pretty good amount. I have them in a canning jar box here. So that is a good harvest from one row of peas. Before the peas we had this lettuce. I do have lettuce in the fridge right now that needs to get eaten up first, but these are ready and very well could be harvested right now. I like them once they are young like this before they get bitter. But I'm not going to harvest any today. These zinnias were planted straight from seed. We direct sowed them in there. And so the same thing with the sunflowers, and those are just now about to start opening up, so that is fun. We have been having so many sunflowers in the actual flower garden, but I had planted these so that we can continue harvesting sunflowers after the ones up there die off. So over here there should be nothing to harvest here. We have carrots, but they're still young. Then we have this beautiful Italian kale. The leaves are humongous on them. They are getting a little bit eaten by bugs though. I'm not going to harvest any of this today. Then next to the cucumber we have our zucchinis. So I see this one's big enough, so I'll pick that one. And then I also see some small ones that I'm going to leave behind. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything else that's big. Those look pretty small, so I will leave them. So that's what we got so far. This box is full. Let me bring it in and once again come back with an empty one. Alright, I am back with another bowl. I see lots of tomatoes ready to pick. I've been picking the tomatoes once they start blushing or once they are ripe. So like these are fully ripe, but I do actually like to pick them before they get to that point. So any tomatoes that I see that have any tint of yellowish or that looks like it's ripening soon, I'm gonna pick. I actually found another cucumber. Let me get that before it gets too big. These are the honey tomatoes. They're super sweet and they're like this orange color when they're ripe. And it looks like we're getting the tomato paste tomatoes ripening very soon. Those have been the latest ones, the last ones to actually ripen. So these I will let ripen indoors, and then I will either make something out of them if they ripen before our open days next week. We will eat them, I cook with them. But a lot of them will be like literally just ripe enough to sell next week on the farm stand. So it's like perfect timing picking them right now because we open on Wednesday. Alright, let me get through all of these plants. I'll show you what we got at the end. We also have peppers. None that are ready to pick yet, but I was excited to see our peppers growing. I think these are jalapenos. We planted a couple spicy varieties. Some cherry peppers, red cherry peppers. The jalapenos I just showed you. And then I think these are cayenne, I want to say. We'll wait and see to see for sure what they are, but those are looking more like skinnier and longer than jalapenos. And then we also did bell peppers. So I think this might be the start of a bell pepper. Not quite sure. No, these might be habaneros. I'm not sure. We'll have to like wait and see until they are a lot bigger. But I was excited to see our plants flowering and having little baby pepper plants, because that means we should definitely be harvesting peppers before it gets too cold. And then I'm very excited about these cherry peppers because we've never gotten those to grow whatsoever either every time we've planted them. So to have peppers on the plants of those is definitely an accomplishment for us. So this is wild, guys. This is completely full. I can't pick any more, but I went through and picked any of the ones that were blushing, and these are going to ripen in the matter of the next few days. And we still have plenty of green tomatoes left on the plants. I'm going to show you my cabbages, how those are doing. They're doing really good. Not ready to harvest, not even close to being ready to harvest. But I want to show you the progress on a couple of them that do have a nice solid head formed. Some of them are still starting to form their heads, but this is the stage that they are at. They have these little tiny heads on them. The bugs seem to have left these alone finally. We had a lot of cabbage loopers, the little green worms, on these for quite a bit, but this one has a nice solid head on it too. But they're doing good now, and the cooler weather, cooler nights are definitely going to help these out and allow them to grow a lot faster. Next to that, we have even more carrots. These are already also not really ready to harvest. They're going to be pretty small because these were some of the later ones that we planted. The carrots that we have been harvesting from are over here. This was the first row. So I'm probably going to get some of those picked today just to continue helping thin them out some. But with carrots I have a lot of trouble. They end up breaking before we pull them out. Let me see if these will come out easy. No, they're like really in there. So I have to go in there with a shovel, loosen up the soil a little bit, and then pull some out. Alright, so we're finally reaching the ends of the garden. We have these beautiful, huge collard greens. They have grown so much. I'm not going to harvest any just because we do not need them right now. Just gonna let them be. Our eggplants still have not produced actual eggplants. They look like they want to start flowering, but not really sure. This is what they're looking like right now. They are getting big, so hopefully we get to see some eggplants. Our onions, let's go over here. I have the biggest onions over here. That is what they are looking like right now. Most of their heads are poking out of the ground, but we're waiting for all this to dry up. And I think the onions will continue getting bigger also. We have some kohlrabi and some kale mixed up here. We might have only like 2 kohlrabi bulbs, so I'm not going to pick them. There's one right there. Alright, welcome to the flower garden jungle. We have pumpkins in here, butternut squash. What don't we have in here? We have raspberries. I probably have to pick through those. I know we have cucumbers growing in here. All kinds of flowers. Tomatoes. I have started picking some of these little yellow tomatoes. They turn like a really bright yellow, and these are very, very sweet too. We actually bought these tomatoes from a farm market last fall, I believe, from the Amish. And we saved seeds and planted them, and they grew beautifully. These are just how they looked when we bought them. So I'm happy those grew. This plant right here was a volunteer. I'm not really sure what it is though. That's what it looks like. I have no idea what that is, but let me make sure I don't have any tomatoes over here. I don't see any. And pumpkins. We have pumpkins to pick today too, so I gotta remember to do that. I gotta remember to head to the back of the field over there to pick any ripe blackberries. Nasturtiums. I need to find some more recipes to use up nasturtiums. I've made pesto before, but these plants are just insane. They're so big, they are taking over, so I have to find a way to use up more of those. Here's what I think is a butternut squash. Butternut squash plant, also a volunteer. I've been keeping it pruned so it doesn't get big. Another huge nasturtium, and one over there. We have kale in here, sunflowers, all kinds of stuff. Here is our pickling cucumber plants. Just gonna give a quick browse and see what is ready to pick in here. The plants look like they are starting to die off, but they've given us so many cucumbers already, so I am happy with the production that they gave till now. So I'm just gonna look through. I see a big one here. Alright, so not many cucumbers on this one. I picked a couple, maybe 2 of them I picked. This one fell off. I wasn't trying to pick it that small, but I've been picking cucumbers off of these for I think 3 days in a row now. So whatever's on there now, it will probably be ready to harvest tomorrow. I do want to get some fresh herbs while I'm in here. We have some thyme plants right here. then we have rosemary somewhere tucked under there, under the nasturtium. So I gotta go search for that. I'm gonna grab just a little bit to have enough for my tomato sauce, and we will continue. Alright, I got some thyme, but I cannot find my rosemary. Looks like it got swallowed by the nasturtiums. I don't really want to go digging in these boxes too much looking for them because I've gotten stung, I can't count how many times this year, by yellow jackets that kind of make their homes inside of these boxes. So I'm a little bit scared of getting stung again, so I'm not going to go digging through these plants. I'm just going to pick whatever is visible to the eye, and we're almost at the end of season. Like I said, this garden, all of the gardens have done so awesome this year. I am very happy with how it went, and then we'll continue to improve on our methods and being able to control these weeds a little bit better. Not even the weeds, it's like the actual plants themselves, like the nasturtiums. I probably won't plant those, too much of those again next year. Maybe like 1 or 2 plants is good enough, and that'll be it, because they definitely take over the boxes and we don't eat them as often as we should be since we have so many growing. I found some more yellow tomatoes, and I definitely want to put basil inside of the tomato sauce. So I have basil back here. We also have indoor grown basil, but I saw this one the other day, was amazed at how good it's doing compared to our indoor one. So I'm going to harvest mostly all of this that's on this plant for the tomato sauce. Alright, I got my delicious fresh basil that I will combine with the basil that we have inside. Alright, so this is the fun part. We're going to be picking some pumpkins that are ready. Pumpkins are a little bit harder to try to record harvesting because the stalks are so thick and hard to cut through. So I'll give you a little peek of the pumpkins that I will pick, and then when I pick them I'm going to set them to the side so I can show you. But we have these jack-o'-lantern pumpkins. We have some of those that are ripe and ready to harvest, as well as the Jarradell all the way in the back of the field. So alright, so here's the pumpkins that I picked today. I'm going to have the kids move them straight into the farm store. I don't have space for these inside the house, and I don't want to leave them outside. But I picked 3 of the jack-o'-lantern orange pumpkins, and then there's still a couple left on the plant that are orange, but they still have a little bit green left on them, so I'm going to leave them to ripen a little bit more. And then I picked out 4 of the Jarradells that look like the stalk was starting to dry up. They're very pretty and like a greenish bluish color almost. So I wanted to show you those before they hauled them into the farm store. I just finished carrying them all the way over here, so they're gonna head and put them where they think they'll look nice in the farm shop area. Alright, the raspberries are up here. I feel like they are almost done. Last year I think we picked raspberries a little bit after September, but not too much. So I think these are almost out of season, but there's still some in there, some left for picking. I have been neglecting these plants and not picking very often, so I'm sure wildlife and the birds have gotten many of them. What I have been picking a lot of is blackberries in the back because I'm trying to collect enough to make something out of them, and I've been freezing them. I've already made a jelly out of these raspberries that I saved up for a while. So, and we harvested a lot to eat as well. We harvested quite a few. Like I would come out here with like a plastic clear cup and just fill them up, and then everybody would snack on them. So we've had our fill of raspberries, but we have some pretty good decent sized ones still left on the plant. They're just very hard to find. You have to really search for them. Alright, blackberries definitely have plenty ripe. Look at that. We have way more ripe ones than unripe ones now, so gotta get those. I wonder what these are. These have little blue type berries on there. I'm not sure if those are edible though. So I'm gonna get these. These are really little, but they're very sweet. And then we have, I don't know if we have different varieties, or it just depends on how much like nutrients and sunlight some of them get, but They range from these little tiny blackberries to a lot bigger ones, more standard size. But they taste just like any regular blackberry. They're very juicy, they're very sweet. They don't have too many seeds. Like we used to pick wild dewberries in Florida and they were very seedy. I don't find these that seedy. So I'm just saving them to either make a jam, a jelly, a preserve, something like that. But I want to save as many as we can. Like once the season is over, there's no more ripe berries to pick, that's when I'll make a bigger batch of some jam or jelly using these. Alright, I am about ready to head back in. This is what I picked. It's probably like a cup and a half. That's all about I can take because these mosquitoes are attacking me. But I have a bunch saved in the freezer too. I'm just going to toss this in that bag and then just continue picking. I have to come out here with a jacket over myself or something and then spray myself with spray above that. So that completes my picking for today. I think in real time, I've been out here for like 2 hours going in and out and picking and washing my vegetables. So pretty good day. I'm going to show you, besides the pumpkins, since those are already in the farm shop, I'll show you my table of everything that we got picked today. And that way you can see kind of together what we were able to pick here. And as a reminder, we're in Maine, zone 5A here, and this is what we're harvesting pretty much end of August, very close to September. I believe, what are we, like a week away from being September? So this is what we're harvesting right now and what we've been harvesting for quite a bit now too. So let's get indoors and I will wrap up this video. Alright, look at our amazing overabundance. Now these tomatoes, some of them, most of this back here is already tomatoes that I had indoors. I just put them all together since I'm about to prepare to make tomato sauce today. But we have so many tomatoes. We have our basil, the acorn squashes that I picked today. This was the fresh thyme that I'm going to add to the sauce. Today's cucumbers, all of the radishes. I'm going to slice one of these too so we can see what it looks like inside. And then our peas that we picked earlier, and our fresh delicious ripe berries, and just one zucchini for today. I'm going to snap a picture of this so I can add it to the thumbnail. And let me slice one of these so we can see it.